It is often said that 80% of data analysis is spent on cleaning and preparing the dataset. That is because data cleaning is not just a step. It is repeated many times over the course of the analysis as new problem comes to light or new data is collected. Now, I've seen many good videos that touch on data cleaning on YouTube. Many of them go straight to the coding aspect of data cleaning. What is really missing is showing a systematic approach or process of doing data cleaning. And in this video, I'm going to attempt to do that with an example from a real world dataset. So stay with me here. Let's jump in. But first of all, what is data cleaning? Is it like doing your laundry? Well, close enough. Just as you remove dirt from your clothes just to make it look clean and fresh, so too as data analysts, we prepare and clean data to make it ready for analysis. But to define data cleaning, it is the process of fixing or removing incorrect, corrupted, incorrectly formatted, duplicate or incomplete data from a dataset. Now, there are two main issues we encounter when we deal with data. There's quality issue, there's tidiness issue. When our data has quality issues, it means it's a dirty data. Dirty data has issues with its contents. Imagine you had a table of two columns, name and height. Common data quality issues within this table are: 1. Missing data, like a missing height value for Musa; invalid data, like a cell having an impossible value. Example, a negative height value for James. Also, having centimeters and inches in the height column is also technically regarded as invalid data, since the data type of height becomes a string when those are present. The data type of height should be either integer or float. 3. Inaccurate data, like Fatima actually being 58 inches tall instead of 55 inches tall. Inconsistent data, like having two different units within the same height column, centimeters and inches. Untidy data is commonly referred to as messy data. Messy data has issues with this structure. This is a relatively new concept coined by statistician, professor, and all-around data expert Hadley Wickham in his paper titled Tidy Data. I'll leave the link in the description below. Tidy data is basically where each variable forms a column, each observation forms a row, and each observational unit forms a table. Take table 1 and table 2 for example. Table 1 is an example of untidy data. There are issues with this structure. For instance, treatment A and treatment B should not be columns, but instead should be values within an overall column of treatment, and the values within treatment A and treatment B should be in a different column called result. Also, as you can see here, the names here, John Smith, John Doe, Mary Johnson, are indexes instead of having them in a column called name. But if you look at table 2 is a transformed and tidy version of table 1. As you can see, we have a different column for name, different column for treatment, which has treatment A and B as values, and a result column which contains the values within the treatment. For more information, this tidy data in Python article by Jane Nicholas Hall is a good start. I'll leave the link in the description below. Now, instead of me just telling you the best approach of doing data cleaning, let me just show you instead. But essentially, we are going to use a certain data cleaning method called define, code, and test method. Let's hop into my Jupyter Lab environment and see it in action. So we're right here at my Jupyter Lab environment. I've already taken the liberty of creating the folder and the notebook for this particular exercise, or the template of the notebook. And so Jupyter Notebook is a web-based integrated development environment where essentially you can create and share documents that has live code, equations, images, text, and this document can even be transformed to HTML, PDF, or even slideshow document that you can share with stakeholders. But we are going to use the Golden State Warriors NBA data from 2010 to 2022 season. Right here, I scraped this data from the ESPN website from this table, as you can see right here. But I'm not really an NBA fan, but I remember I assisted a colleague with a certain assignment and we had to scrape the data from ESPN. So let's start first of all by importing our necessary libraries. We're going to need Pandas for this, also NumPy, even though I'm not sure we are going to use it, but just a force of habit. And now we read our data. Just assign it to NBA pd.read.csv. So this is the raw file of our data. Now just display the first 5 rows of the data. As you can see right here, it's just the same columns as you can see from the table right here. And now for before we move further, let me just explain what the define, code, and test method is. So essentially, what they define is before we start cleaning the data itself, start fixing issues within the data, first of all, define the task that we are going to do, the cleaning task we are going to do. Next, we translate that cleaning task into code, that we use code to fix the issues. Then finally, we test whether the code works or not, whether we achieve our cleaning tasks. So essentially, moving to a systematic approach, they define code and test makes your work a lot easier. So, but let's see it in action. But in case you're wondering where I got this method, I got it from Udacity Data Analyst Nano Degree Program. I mean, it's a great course, quality content, and this is one of the many new skills that I learned from the course. And in case you can access it on udacity.com, of course. And so let's just start by assessing our data sets and looking at the issues within the data. So as you can see right there, just from the view of the first 5 rows of the data, this the columns here are in uppercase and lowercase. So we want our columns to be uniform, to have a single case or casing, and we want to remove all spaces within the column names. So this is a quality issue, like I explained earlier, because we are dealing with the content within the data. We're trying to clean the content itself. So this deals with quality issue. So let's just document it. Then the next quality issue we are going to fix is this opponent column here. So as you can see, the opponent column we have, well, first of all, I forgot something. Before we move further, let's make a copy of our data frame. It's always essential to work within a copy of our data frame before start doing the cleaning exercise. So we use a copy function or method from Pandas. So yeah, we've already successfully made a copy of a data frame. So we're going to use this copy to do the cleaning instead of fixing or doing the cleaning from the original data set. So in case we do mistake, we could always revert to the original and try to fix it. Just to continue, we're going to remove these characters, visors, and the space between them as character. We do not necessarily need them, we just need the opponent names right here. For tidy issues, as you can see just from the display of our data, we have this column high point, high rebound, and high assist. For each of these columns, we have the player name and the points scored. Essentially, we have 2 variables in a single column. Name itself is a variable and the point scored is another variable. So we have to split them into different variables. So this deals with structure within the data set. So when we are fixing structure, it is a messy data and it's tidy issue. Then the next one we are going to attempt to clean, we're going to drop some unnecessary columns of the data set, so it deals with tidy issue as well. Now we've documented our issues. Let's try to translate them into code and fix them. So for the first issue, which is transform column names to lowercase, we're going to use a certain function from Python called map. We use the str lowercase, then nba copy dot columns. That is going to map the column names to lowercase and transform all of them to lowercase. So let's see it here. As you can see, we've successfully transformed all of them into lowercase. But now we have to remove the empty spaces between the column names. And for that, we are going to use the str.replace, pandas replace function. Then we replace the empty spaces with underscore. Let's assign it to the column variable. So for tests and see if our code works and if we successfully achieve our cleaning task, we've successfully achieved it. High points, high rebounds, high assists, we have underscore between them now. So for our next issue, we are going to remove characters and empty spaces. Let's define it right here. Now to remove characters, we're going to use the lstrip function. It's a Python function that removes leading characters in a string. So we are going to, of course, we work within the opponent variable, and we use str.lstrip. It has a sister function which is right strip if we want to remove characters at the end of the string, or we want to remove characters at the beginning of the string. So these characters are visors, at, and empty space. So let's assign this to the variable component. So if we run this code and see, I've successfully removed the characters. But one thing you can see right here, if we use the unique function just to display all the unique values within this column, you see LA and Los Angeles are kind of like duplicates, are the same. LA and Los Angeles are the same. So I have to replace LA with Los Angeles. We don't want duplicate data. So LA replace it with Los Angeles, and in place equals true. That means should be a permanent replacement in this NBA copy. So we use the pandas replace function, obviously, but it should not be in the test. Instead, let's put it in the code. And if we run this code, run successfully, and if we see if we've successfully replaced it here, as you can see right now, you're no longer seeing LA, but instead Los Angeles. So we're moving now to tidy issues. Let's try to fix our tidy issues here. So for the tidy issues, as I rightly mentioned earlier, this deals with structure within the data sets. So if we're fixing the messy structure of our data set, it's a tidy issue. So we use NBA copy, and we are going to split the high points column, use str.split. So how are we going to split it? We are going to split it between the empty space between the player name and the stats. So now we use the expand parameter. It essentially is going to make it transform it to a data frame. Now we assign these to new columns. Since we are splitting them into two columns, we mention the columns here. Say high points player for the player's name, and high points scored. I use another parameter here, n equals to -1. So I did in the split parameter. So if we run this code and we check to see if we've successfully splitted the columns, or if our column worked, let's display the first two rows. As you can see, high points we've successfully split into two columns. Now we have high points player for the player's name and high points scored for the start or the value. So this works, and now we move to the next tidy issue, which is dropping unnecessary columns. We are just going to focus on fixing two quality issues and two tidiness issues. We're not necessarily going to clean the whole data set itself. For the purpose of the task, the most important thing is just to see the approach, the method that I'm using here, the step-by-step approach, documenting the issues as well. So it's just to show you guys the method instead of cleaning all the data sets. So we are going to drop unnecessary columns here, and we are going to use the pandas drop function and columns parameter. We're going to drop the high points column. Now we do not need it because we've already splitted the columns into two. Then let's drop this postseason qualification. So we use the in place, which means to make a permanent drop. Axis, another one, axis equals to 1, and we use the column index instead. So if we run this code and let's see if our columns are no longer there, use the columns function, then we see now we've dropped the high points and the postseason qualification. So after cleaning your dataset, it's always best practice to save the clean dataset into new CSV file or new Excel file, whatever you prefer. So we save the data as NBA Golden State Warriors cleaned.csv. We don't want an index to be there, so put index to be false. We're going to save it into this data folder. There you go. So this is basically the method. As you can see, we even move faster. As data analysts or data scientists spend a lot of time cleaning data sets. So imagine you have like data set of more than 1,000 variables, or close to that, or even close to 1 million rows. So if you are tasked to clean that data set, you take a lot of time doing that. So it's best to have like an approach, a process that you go through to do your data cleaning. And if you have that process, and this process, the defined code and test approach, it makes you go faster in your data cleaning. But it's going to help if you work within a team, you collaborate a lot. It's going to be the case most of the time. You're going to spend a lot of time working within a team to achieve a particular task. So if you document your code, or you document your process or your workflow, it's going to help your colleagues start from there, build upon it, and even it's going to help you in case you come to it later, after it takes some time, you come to your code later and you want to understand what exactly you did in that particular code that you wrote. And most of the time, if you don't document it, you are going to totally forget. It also helps you communicate your work to novice stakeholders, as the case may be. So it's very essential that you document your work. So the defined code test method is one way that helps you to document your work. So this systematic approach will help you a lot in doing your work, or even streamline or make your work faster. So this is it. If you'd like to see more content like this, then please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification. Also, tell me, what do you think about this approach? As a data analyst or aspiring data analyst, is it something that you like to use in a workflow? Also, would you like to see more content like this? Let's discuss in the comment section below. Thank you very much. Happy learning.